Whether you admit it or not, Starfield seems to have something that is very special to the game itself. Welcome to the Gamer Dad channel. It's been a long time. About 50 days since I posted my last video. Thank you very much for staying tuned. I really appreciate you guys' time and audience. Starfield right now is generating a lot of conversation on the internet. The most recent one was about the menu. A lot of people are starting to make fun of it, talk about it, but you know what? That is some petty talk because that doesn't represent what a lot of people looking forward to the game are actually interested in. So we're going to talk about what is interesting overall. And let me give you guys this little nugget that not a lot of people have actually pointed out. Now, as somebody like me who I'm agnostic with the console platforms in a sense, I don't really care for both, companies or in terms of preference. I prefer to just play a game that I want to play wherever it's available. In regard to Starfield, thankfully it's available on PC, it's available on Game Pass. I decided to go with the Game Pass version or the Xbox version since I can play on both my console and PC, providing me a little bit of flexibility. I think that if you look at the history of this game in regard to its marketing and proposition from a business perspective, PlayStation saw something special in this game to have wanted it to be a timed exclusive. Many of you may or may not know exactly what I'm talking about. If you've been paying very close attention, you would have paid attention to this nugget in the FTC Activision Blizzard trial, that case where the FTC sued for the judge to block the merger, and then the judge allowed for a temporary injunction where they argued their case. In that particular, those proceedings, we got to find out that at some point, and this was something where it was confirmed because at first it had been, whispered when Starfield was first talked about and unveiled, that it seemed like Starfield was going to go the way of being a Sony PlayStation timed exclusive. Already we saw that Bethesda was getting somewhat cozy with PlayStation's, enterprise in terms of getting these third-party exclusives with Ghostwire Tokyo and getting even something like that with, their other game, Deathloop. But then it seemed like Microsoft decided that something must be really big with this game for them to have gone out to spend $7 billion to acquire the entire publisher. They didn't acquire the game. They didn't acquire a studio. They didn't acquire their studios. They acquired their parent company, ZeniMax, overall. And that was really huge. When that news dropped, everybody was in shock. For the most part, people didn't necessarily know what moves Microsoft and their Xbox, commission was going to take. But overall, it seemed like they're spending that money that they brought in 2017. And many of you may or may not know, I'd recommend that you go look up 2017 financials of Microsoft, where they had a big tax bill, having used a congressional, opening because the Congress opened up the, bringing of money from offshore accounts and provided an option to reduce the tax burden if any company did that. Microsoft is one company who took that advantage and paid or is projected to have paid about $18 billion in taxes, which was a reduced tax bill. So it seems Microsoft is sitting on a bunch of cash that they've brought in and will be spending it heavily. Already, we've seen that they've been able to spend close to $80 billion of it, and it seems like they're not, ready to stop. They've started to reconnect with some of their relationships with Square Enix, bringing Final Fantasy XIV to the Xbox platform. So overall, it seemed like this game seemed to have pulled both sides of the console juggernauts and even their customers to pay very close attention to it. Some people are going to buy an Xbox. Some people are going to get a PC to play this game. This is one of those games where people just want to know what the game is about. Because if the big money folk were trying to put to sink their funds and throw their weight behind this particular game itself, then it appears that there must be something big. Now, for the big companies, there's a profitability side, and I'm sure that's probably what they're looking at. A game this big, a game having all this stuff to do, having these worlds, with very high-end adaptation of a lot of the systems Bethesda has built in the past in their other games. I think that's one way that they look at it. Man, this is going to be a profitable game that people can play over and over again. We can add content, we can market it, we can create a platform out of Starfield itself. So that's probably some of the things that they've been envisioning, or these big money, people, that's Microsoft and Sony, this is what they probably went ahead to envision in regard to how they were going to go with this. But now that Microsoft pretty much purchased the entire publisher, it's interesting to see how things are going to go. And I think the reactions that you're getting from everyone, and even sometimes what's very funny and what's very interesting is the way the news or the gaming space is actually talking about this game. In fact, just recently, IGN put up a post saying that after the exclusivity deal, or I guess the AMD sponsorship deal of Starfield for PC, there are no DLSS files that have been found in the game's files. And also modders have said that they're going to add DLSS support. Well, that's not uncommon. If AMD sponsors a game, the game usually will stay with AMD upscaling technologies and not use any from NVIDIA. NVIDIA does the exact same too with some other, with some other games, where they have only NVIDIA support and so on and so forth. So the conversation is interesting, and I've been following every bit of it as much as I can as time permits. And I really want to see how this stuff plays out. Overall, it's one of those things where you just have to kind of take your time, to figure out exactly what the game is going to offer. But the conversation as a whole is very interesting. But overall, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you guys' time and audience. And hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.